You guys are watching this podcast as I'm editing it in my brand new house. Weird how that works. A little time travel for you guys, but hello and welcome back to the Untitled Mike Ashmore podcast. I think this is episode 19. If it's not, then sue me. Please don't do that. We just bought a house. I can't afford it. Please don't do that. Episode 19 of the Untitled Mike Ashmore podcast. Mark Minicozzi is our guest. Guy got national headlines for an incredible story that he's going to tell the real version of the story to, not the version you've heard, the real version of the story about how he ended up basically coming out of the stands to resume his career in affiliated baseball in the Giants organization. Got a lot of headlines, a lot of attention there. Ended up coming across Mark towards the tail end of his career in Somerset, where he was just getting Primal baseball. It was then Primal baseball at the time, off the ground. It is now Primal gloves. We're going to talk about that as well. There's so much that he and I get into in this one, so I'm not going to make you guys wait a second longer. Here it is, the Untitled Mike Ashmore podcast with Mark Minicozzi. All right, guys, welcome back to episode 19 of the Untitled Mike Ashmore podcast. We are breaking up our run of consecutive mics with Mark. I have got the brainchild of Primal gloves. I've got the man who had one hell of a career in pro ball. I've got Mark Minicozzi. Kaz, how you doing, my friend?
What's going on, buddy? Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on, man. Lot going on. Primal seems like it's thriving. I guess how's everything going, man?
Yeah, things have been crazy. I mean, we're crazy in a good way, man. We've been really busy. We were Primal baseball for about 2 years, and we've going into 2020, we've transitioned to Primal gloves as we offer, baseball gloves and football gloves, and we've actually done some work with band gloves, and we're actually going to have some little cameos in WWE and AEW. So yeah, we're expanding our ways in our glove market, and it's been great. It's been awesome, and it started in the I guess extended stays in Somerset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I've asked you about this before, but I guess what was kind of the genesis for wanting to make this thing a reality?
I was getting to the end of my career. I was actually playing in Long Island a year before I was with Somerset. And I had I guess the sort of span of my career, I had a lot of injuries. So I had a crazy play at first base where I jumped for a ball, came down, and broke my ankle. So I went back to school. I left Long Island that year, went back to school, and it was like, I got to look at this. 6 surgeries in, broken ankle now. Pretty much every time I start playing well, I get hurt. So I got to figure out some way to make baseball better, and I got into trying to create some batting gloves, and spent a winter actually in Venezuela playing, and just kept on working on it, trying to develop a better glove, and got the opportunity to come to Somerset that following year and really test the product out, and we launched pretty much as a full company about a couple months after I left Somerset.
Now, from doing this for as long as I have, and as you have as well, obviously, I've seen every possible batting glove there is. So how were you able to make something that was so much better and so much more durable? Because I see a lot of the guys, are wearing your fielding gloves, your batting gloves, and all that stuff, and I've not heard a single complaint. So how are you able to do this?
Well, honestly, as a player, you just, your whole entire career, you're told, oh, you wear Franklin or Nike. That was pretty much what your agents gave you for free. You wore it, and that was just the best you could get. There was about 2 models made a year, and you either take the model they have or you don't wear batting gloves. So it's pretty amazing how a lot of those brands have never really, made their products better. They just run out the same stuff with a little different design, and that's all they have to offer. So, I went into looking into what's the most premium leather I could get, what's the, best feeling back, what would have the most, sweat absorption and would just hold up better. And, actually my time in Somerset was a great time to to test our product, we had a bunch of guys who would wear them, and we'd have straps rip or or something rip or not feel good, and I could get, instant feedback on how to make the product better. So, after that season, we had a lot of feedback. We were able to make a lot of changes in season, and, at the end of that season, I was able to come out with a product that, is cheaper than most of the name brands and is, in durability and quality is a superior product. So, we also like to have fun with it too. So we do some crazy designs, and that was sort of, what I wanted to do. I wanted to offer, different kinds of models for different kinds of people, and something that, would feel good and last longer than what's available.
Yeah, so at the beginning you were talking about baseball gloves and football gloves and band gloves. I'm like, okay, and then you said wrestling gloves. What? How do you get into that?
Social media is a crazy thing. So we've actually had, I didn't even know, we have a couple of guys who wear our gloves in AEW. So they reached out to me about doing custom gloves for them. And we have a couple guys, the gloves will probably be in WWE here in about 6 weeks. We have some customized gloves for one specific wrestler in WWE. So it's pretty cool to see, with the social media presence that, some of these larger, athletes are, reaching out to us and wanting to wear our products. So it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool to see, the different reach we can have and how we can bring, quality products to all types of, different avenues.
Yes, I'm trying to go through my mind on the WWE and AEW rosters and the guys who wear gloves. AJ Styles is the only guy who's coming to mind, but I guess we'll all have to wait and see in a couple weeks and see what happens.
You'll probably in about 6 to 8 weeks, you'll see someone, let's just say he wears a lot of masks, and the gloves might look like some masks on it.
Oh, okay.
Little hint there.
Okay. All right. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down there, sir. So, all right. I guess we have to talk about baseball as well. I guess we can't do one of these things unless we pick your brain about baseball at least a little bit. Conestoga High School, get to East Carolina. I guess how does a PA guy end up going to East Carolina, ECU?
So as a PA guy, as most people know from being, Jersey, New York, Philly area, as a high school player, all you want to do is get down south and play. I know my recruiting process, I took almost all of my visits. I took 4 out of the 5 visits you get. I was able to go to a couple schools, little different route. I was actually going more. I went to a lot of schools that I visited were more for academics with, obviously a baseball scholarship. I went down to William & Mary. I went to a visit with Georgia Tech. I actually went up to Boston College. And my 4th school was East Carolina. And 5th was supposed to go to University of Maryland. And I got through my 4th visit at East Carolina, and the school part sort of fell to the side. I fell in love with the place. At the time, they were top 10 in the nation in baseball, and the coaching staff they had there is Coach Leclerc, who unfortunately passed away from ALS, was about 35 years old and on one of the craziest trajectories of coaches winning 40 games in his 30s, going to regionals almost every year. He was an incredible coach, and Coach McMullen, who's the recruiting coordinator at University of Virginia for about the last 15 years, was our other coach. And we just had such a, they had such a, just being down there for a weekend, I just knew that was the place for me, and made that choice.
So you have a monster sophomore year at 342, 10 bombs, 50 RBIs. How much does that kind of set you up for what kind of came that following year, your junior year, where A, you played well, and B, you end up getting drafted?
Our sophomore year was, that was a magical year. I actually talked to about 14 of those guys on a group chat almost every day still. We had an incredible team. I think through the lineup we had 5 guys hit double-digit home runs. We had 4 or 5 guys hitting over 300. I think out of the 16 position players that were on that roster. 13 of them got drafted. So, I mean, it was an incredible team we had in 2004. I had a real good year. My junior year, I had I would call it a real letdown year. I missed about a month, almost a month and a half, with a knee injury at the end of the season. So the numbers weren't really there. I think I only had about half the home runs I had the year before and about half the RBIs. So, but yeah, I did end up getting drafted that year by the Giants and started my pro career.
Yes. So what is that moment like when you find out that they're taking you in the 17th round that year?
Honestly, you watch the NFL draft and all these, and it's such a great time. I actually had the opposite experience. Going into my junior year, I guess I had a really good sophomore year. So my junior year, I had pretty big aspirations, and going through all my interviews with the teams, I sort of projected in that like 3 to 7th round draft pick. And go later into the year, I didn't have a very good year. Missed the last 6 weeks with a knee injury. Weren't sure if I needed an ACL repair, but I missed about 6 weeks and came back and only could DH and play first base end of the season. So, going from projected in that like 3 to 7 round to hear my name called in the 17th was sort of tough. I actually left after the 10th round. I got a call from the Giants in the 8th round. And they called me and they're like, "How you doing?" And I said, "I've been better. Not really happy where we're at. Not off the board." They're like, we want to let you know, we really would like to take you. What's the latest round that you would sign? And I said, if I get drafted today, I'll sign, which was 18 rounds.
Oh boy.
So they said, "Okay, we'll keep you in touch." I actually left. I left the phone. I went and played basketball, literally across the street, and just stopped watching. I remember my mom yelling at me and saying, "The phone's ringing, blah, blah, blah." So I came back, and the Giants drafted me in the 17th round. And I look back now, and you're sort of selfish, and you're having all these dreams of getting drafted in what round. But it was a blessing to be able to have that opportunity and get drafted and go and play.
Yeah, so high school, East Coast, college, East Coast, pro ball, they send you to Oregon right away. Had you been to West Coast at all before that?
Never. I had been college. We would go out to Arizona State. So when we get drafted, we go to Scottsdale. I was out in that area before. So, yeah, first time West Coast. It was awesome. It was a great experience. Went to Salem that first year, had a really good year. Actually was in line to win the batting title my first season, hitting about 370 going to the last 10 games. And I don't know the exact, I think I went 1 for 30 something, and in a short season that will crush you. But I think I dropped like 50 points the last week and a half of the season. And I think I finished 3rd in the league in hitting that year.
Still take it though.
Good year. It got me to the next level.
Yes, San Jose the next year. I actually covered a game there a couple years ago, and all I remember is sweating my ass off and the ballpark being in a very weird middle of nowhere area. So what was your experience like playing there for a year?
Oh, for San Jose, it's such an old historic park, and that was probably one of the highlights of my career was playing in San Jose. I was able to be coached by Len Cicada, who is the winningest coach in Cal League history, and at that time, I was developing into a second baseman, and Len Cicada was unbelievable. He taught me so much of how to play the positions, how to, put yourself in different angles to field ground balls, and on the hitting side, really developed me from just being more of a contact hitter into more of a power hitter. And that was awesome experience. Super cool place to play. Being an hour from San Fran, you get a lot of fans who watch, the guys in San Jose.
Yeah. I can't imagine there were a lot of fans out in the Hawaii Winter Baseball League, though, to come out and watch. I guess, what was that experience like? Because fans might not know that there was a Hawaiian Winter League back in the day.
Yeah, for 2 years. So that was the first year. At the end of that season, I had a really good year in San Jose. Led the team in most stats. And at the end of the year, Len Cicada, who's Hawaiian, came up to me and said, "Hey, do you want to come play for me in Hawaii?" And And I don't know how you say no to that. I was like, wait, I get paid to go to Hawaii for 2 months and play?
Yeah.
I'm in. What is this league? And they're like, oh, it's our, the Prospect League. It's half American players and half of the Japanese players. So I got a chance to play in the first when they brought it back. I guess the last year they had it. Before that, Ichiro played in it. So it was the first time they brought it back with it for like 15 years. So it was really cool. What a amazing experience. Pretty much zero fans. But, I mean, the talent that played down there, I mean, we could go through our entire lineup. I think I'm the only guy from our lineup who hasn't signed a $50 million deal. So it's pretty incredible to see. We had like Ian Desmond, Dexter Fowler, Nate Scherholtz, Lorenzo Kane, Michael Brantley. I'm trying to think. I mean, we had just through the entire lineup. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, my wife and I got to go on our honeymoon to Hawaii. Obviously, we enjoyed exploring. Did you get to do anything like that while you were out there? Because obviously, you were out there for like a month and a half?
Yeah, we were there I think we played 40 games, and we would play, I want to say it was 4 days a week. So you'd play a game, you have a day off. We did a lot. We were in Honolulu, Waikiki, so we did a lot of time at the beach, I would say that.
Gotcha. Fair enough. 07 then, I guess obviously that kind of didn't necessarily go your way. How much does that kind of set you back? And then obviously 08 happens the way it does as well with the TJ. I guess how much does that all kind of set you back going forward, did you think, kind of in retrospect?
Yeah, so 2007, I came back from the Hawaiian Winter League. I led that league in home runs and RBIs. I lost a Triple Crown the second to last day to Will Venable, who played with the Padres for a while.
Yep.
And coming from there, I was pumped. I was like, all right, this is my coming out party. I'm showing I can hang with all these first rounders. Showed the power, had a great thing. In spring training, get a bunch of appearances in big league games, come back down, go into AA. Last day of spring training, get hit by a pitch in the wrist. Was out for about 6 weeks.
Yep.
So I literally missed the first 6 weeks of the season. Tried to come back. It was 2006 at the time. So it wasn't sort of the same style baseball we have now. We boxer wrap my wrist to try to have me play that season, and I could not hold a bat. It's sort of a bad way to put it. I put myself out of my misery. I got hit by a pitch in the head and got knocked unconscious and actually had vertigo for about 6 weeks. So with that dismal beginning, ended up getting knocked unconscious, missing 6 weeks. It was just one of those bad years. It actually ended awesome, though. I actually finally came back from my concussion, missed about 6 weeks, and I went back to San Jose to play. And I went and played in San Jose for the last 2 weeks of the season and then the playoffs to get some at bats since I missed so much time. And had a great. I actually didn't hit batting practice one time when I was there, since my wrist hurt so much when I hit. Len Cicada was our coach, and he literally would have me take ground balls in BP and go in. I put my hand in the ice cold tub, and until game time, and then I would go out, and I had about 8 to 10 swings, and that was it. After 10 swings, my hand would hurt so bad I would have to come out of the game. So, I knew every swing I took had to be all or nothing. So I actually ended up doing really well. We won the Cal League Championship, and I ended up being MVP of that series, which was an awesome experience. So the year was actually a terrible year for me, and ended, winning a championship and getting an MVP. So, as bad as it was, it ended up being a great time, and got to play with some of the most memorable Giants in the last decade.
So I'm glad you were able to find positives out of 07. Are there any positives that come out of 08 at all?
08, same kind of thing. This last day of spring training, things just start coming and getting me. The last day of spring training, had another really good spring. Come last day of camp, I have a meeting with one of our farm directors about what we need to do to get to the big leagues that year. So I'm reading the reports, and they're showing us all the stuff. And I look, and it says I have an average arm. So at the end of our talk, he says, "Is there any questions you have?" I said, "Yeah, I don't have an average arm." He said, "Nah, you got a decent arm. You don't have a great arm." I was like, "All right, let's go today. We're going out there. I'll show you what I got." So I do about 15, 20 throws from shortstop, just letting it loose. Last one I throw of that day, blow out my elbow, done for the year.
Yep.
So I learned real quickly that's probably not the way to do it.
Was that a nagging thing before that, or just one of those things, or what?
No, one throw, deep shortstop. Just when I felt it, I threw it, and I felt it pop, and knew it was done.
Wow. So ultimately, they release you the next spring. I guess was that a surprise? Were you fully recovered? I would imagine you're fully recovered by then, no?
So I waited. The Giants were really good about giving you an opportunity. So when I tore it, we did the MRIs. They said it's torn. They gave me an opportunity for 2 months to try to rehab and see if I could go and play second base that year. At the time, the Giants, we were, bottom of the barrel. They were calling anyone who had a good month was getting called up. So, I tried my hardest to just see if I could play second base and, not be able to really throw. And spent about 2 months in Arizona trying to rehab, and I couldn't throw. It was completely gone. So I had surgery in July. So that put me to about 7 months out, coming to spring of 2009. Spring 2009, I wasn't able to play all spring training. The last day of spring training, I got cleared, thinking, oh, great, maybe I'll get a couple, a month in extended spring training and then get out to play. Well, I got cleared to get released and got released that day. So that was a tough day, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Did you have those indie ball opportunities lined up at that time? Were you thinking that there was going to be an opportunity waiting for you with another organization? I guess how did that all end up playing out?
When you get drafted and you play a couple years, you don't really know the process, and that is one thing. You get out, and honestly, I was very lucky that one of the guys I was in spring training with that year was like, "Hey, we need a shortstop in Kansas City. Do you want to go play there?" And I had absolutely no clue where you go. I was like, "Oh, a place to play? All right, cool. You said it's good. Let's go." So, that was really the first opportunity. I don't think it was like 2 or 3 days after I got released. I got released the last day of spring training. I got a call and asked if I wanted to play in Kansas City. So I ended up signing to go there.
Yeah. So you're in indie ball for a while. You're putting up these big years over those first 2 years, at least anyway. I guess, are you a little surprised that the phone's maybe not ringing at that time, I guess, given what you had accomplished in the first few years in affiliated ball?
Yeah, I was really surprised. I didn't. I know my first year, I actually got hurt. I needed a back surgery. So my first 2 years of indie ball, I was literally barely able to walk and play. Luckily, after my second year, my first year in Worcester, Mass, I actually had emergency back surgery in the off season.
I read about that sciatica, right?
Yeah, I had really, really bad sciatica. I had emergency back surgery. Just one night, I was actually done. I was like, I'm not playing anymore. My body hurts so bad. I have so much pain down my leg. There's no way. I'm done. I can't do this. It hurts too much. I had an emergency surgery that I want to say was January. And within 6 or 7 weeks, it was the first time I could actually bend down without shooting pain. It felt great. And, I reconsidered. My family told me, we're like, hey, go and play. If you want to play, go and play. And that was really the year where it started coming back together. I think I hit, 300 something with 12 or 15 home runs in Worcester and had a really good year.
Yeah. So what, I guess maybe sidetrack a little bit here, but if you were done then, what would you have done? What would have kind of been the career path? Would Primal have been a thing back then? I guess what was the path?
So at the time, I had just started a limo service, which I'm glad I did it now with Uber and Lyft. But I started a limo service where I had higher end vehicles. I at the time had a 7 Series BMW, so I had got connected with a couple limo services, and I would do a VIP service kind of limo service. So my goal was to have a couple fleet cars and be able to go into that kind of market. So I was actually doing that. That's where I thought my direction I was going. I was going to have a Philadelphia area, luxury limousine kind of business. And I guess luckily my back went out and, gave me, a second lease on my baseball career.
Yeah. So you talk about the big year in 11 you had with Worcester kind of after the back surgery. I'm curious, though,
Yeah.
kind of I've read a lot about this as well. Where does Nicaragua come into play here?
So I get done the second season in Worcester.
Okay.
And have a really good year. And I have one of my buddies that I played against was like, hey, you want to go play in Nicaragua? There's a winter ball league out there. And I was like, Nicaragua, where is that? I never heard of that. And at the time, my now wife, her grandmother was actually born in the city that had asked me to play in Granada, Nicaragua. So we ended up, I was like, hey, do you want to take a vacation? I'll go play 5 days a week and we get to see where your grandmother was born. So we went out there and played in that league, and that was I actually set the home run record in that. I think I had it for about 10 years. I hit 13 home runs one year in that league and led the league in Nicaragua.
So I want to read just a quick couple sentences of what I had found out here. His club had some road games switched to home games because volcanic eruptions had spewed lava too close to the ballparks. Kazi also recalled one night when a spectator was stabbed in the grandstand. What the hell, dude?
That's South American, Central America baseball right there, my friend. You never know what you're going to get when you go to the park. Looking back, man, what a crazy experience. I know I played there twice. I played once with the Granada team, had a really good year. Went back the next year and played with the rival team, and it was crazy, man. You get heckled, you get booed, you get people throwing stuff at you. It was incredible. It was a cool experience, and it's such a the winter ball experiences is such a good experience for younger guys to get that opportunity because it's so cutthroat. And you have 2 or 3 bad games, you're gone. There's another guy. So, it really makes you say, okay, today I got to perform. I got to, basically keep my spot. So it was a great opportunity for me to go down there, play, and know that if I didn't perform, someone else was going to replace me. So it was a great experience down there. And I'm glad I went because it actually, helped transition into that next, part of my career.
Yeah, we have to talk about that next part of your career, and incredibly, this is something that you and I have never really talked about. Just the story of how you end up getting back to the Giants. I'm sure you've told it a million times, but that's one of the most incredible things I've ever heard. If you wouldn't mind kind of sharing the path of how that happens again, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's a crazy story. There's the headlines. The one spring training I was with the Giants, there's a big headlines. I got signed out of the stands. It actually happened that way. I was actually at a bachelor party with my buddies golfing, and we are my college buddies. And after about 6 or 7 holes and maybe a couple adult beverages, we ended up playing shirtless on the golf course. So, of course, social media, we take a picture on the golf course shirtless. And my old coach from AA commented on my page and was like, "Cause you look great, man." He's like, "We're going to be in Reading." He knew, my family would always bring cheesesteaks when we played in Reading. He's like, "Hey, we're going to be in Reading. If you want to, I would love to see you, blah, blah." So I was like, "Oh yeah, coach, I'll come on down, say what's up." So, about a week later, the Reading, the Giants were in Richmond and they were playing down in Reading. So I went to the game thinking nothing of it, going to see my coach, didn't really know any players on the team, just knew the coaches, and went down there, saw my old coach, and one of the directors who used to be in the organization was there, and I was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And the first question they said is, "Oh, what are you doing these days?" And I was like, "What am I doing?" "Oh, I'm still playing baseball." And they're like, "You are?" They're like, "We thought you retired after your injury." Huh. And I was like, "No, I've been playing for 3 years in independent ball." They're like, "Oh, cool, man. Like, how have you done?" I was like, "I've hit like 300 with like 10 to 15 home runs every year." And they're like, "Wow, that's awesome, man." They're like, do you have those stats? Can you show us those stats?" And I was like, "Yeah, here they are." And I went and watched the game. I was sitting above the dugout by the third inning, and my manager runs over. He goes, "Cos." Shane Turner was the director of the Giants at the time. Was like, "Shane really saw your numbers, and you look in great shape. You want to work out tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would love to." So I went, took a batting practice with the team the next day, and got a call from Bobby Evans, the assistant general manager at the time, a day later in Philly, and he said, "Hey, we want to bring you back, man. When can you come out here?" And I remember that call. I was on my parents' porch, and I was like, "I'll get my bags now. I'll start jogging to Scottsdale now, man. I'm ready. Let's go." So that was pretty cool, man. It was awesome.
I think the moral of the story is just I think I need to start posting a lot more shirtless pictures of myself on Instagram.
Right.
So
Right, I know. It was like crazy. I was like, no way. I was like, just went to say hi, and all of a sudden, it was pretty crazy to think that, a lot of these guys who play independent ball and have great years that, they just, you don't understand. You're like, why is no one looking at me? A lot of the times, the guys who are making decisions, haven't seen the guys. So, I mean, I was very fortunate to get that opportunity, and man, I think it's very, very few times I'm happy how I handled myself the first time around. I know getting released, you want to do some crazy things, and I'm glad I handled myself really well that first time around because to get that second opportunity with the same team is extremely, extremely rare.
Obviously, I'm sure you were very in the moment at that time, and you certainly had a lot of time to kind of reflect on that. Are you able to kind of wrap your head around how crazy and improbable and how a story like that just never happens?
Yeah, no, it was.
That's just stuff that comes out of a movie.
Yeah, no, it was pretty incredible, man. It was awesome. I know every time I played it, the one thing that kept me playing independent ball was I always told myself, I said, I have to be the only person in the history of minor league baseball who won an MVP of a championship his last game he ever played. I was like, I have to get a second opportunity. There's no way that's the last game I play in affiliated baseball. So, I hung around long enough and got that, lucky opportunity to get a second chance.
So when you go into that opportunity, is there pressure on you to do well? Is it, this is kind of a second chance and whatever happens, happens? Like there's no pressure on me at all? I guess, how did you kind of approach that from a mindset standpoint?
Honestly, at that time, it was such an amazing experience to have a second chance. It was zero pressure. If I failed, it was the opportunity that I got a chance to go and show what I can do on the baseball field. You work your whole life to have that opportunity to prove that you belong and that you can play. And, after having those injuries and to be able to come back and say, okay, I can compete at this level. I can, I belong. I can do this. It was awesome. I didn't really have pressure. I just, wanted to have fun and go out and play.
Yeah. 13 AA. Do you expect to do as well as you did there? 'Cause, I mean, all-star year, incredible numbers. Is that the expectation going into that season? Do you feel like you have to have that kind of season to get back on the radar? I guess, again, kind of what's the mentality there?
So 2012, I go there. I signed about mid-season. I got to play about 2 months in AA. And I think my numbers were around like 280 with like 8 home runs. I ended up actually having pretty close to the same year I had in 2013. When I go in 2013, I'm pretty much told, hey, we have some super prospects, Joe Panic and Adam Duvall. You're going to hit in between these guys. We really want you to be that veteran presence on this team with all these young prospects we have. And for me, that was an awesome opportunity. Yeah, I would love to do that and be that guy. As most of my years, I started out really, really slow that year. I think I was hitting about 230, 220, 230 the first 100 at bats, which was pretty typical of every season for me. And the director at the time, we were in Altoona. I'll never forget this day. I was in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and hitting 230 is not what you really want to do as a 30-year-old in AA. And I won't mention his name, but the director at the time was the same guy who told me my arm wasn't very good and, sort of egged me on to let it loose and throw it out, and then was the guy who released me. and made it very well known he did not want me coming back when I re-signed. So we had our first walk ever over a year down the hallways of Altoona after I'm hitting about 230, and had some really kind, encouraging words to me. He told me as we were walking down the hallway, I flew all the way from Arizona just to watch you play this weekend. Basically telling me, I can't wait to release you again. So, I don't know if that was the factor that put me over the hump, but I think that weekend I hit like 3 home runs. I ended up that month hitting like 470 or something for the month, led the entire Double-A, and was player of the month in Double-A, and, ended up winning the batting title that year in the Eastern League, and, setting a bunch of records in Richmond. So I don't know, that pushed me to that next level that season. But, I had that talk. I had, someone who sort of for a while felt like he ended my career before, and I wasn't going to let him take it again. So, that was a phenomenal year, and, one of the best years at Richmond, Virginia. I don't know, a lot of people know about that place. It was one of the best places to play. The atmosphere every night, it's just incredible. The fans are incredible. It was, such a great place to play.
Yes, AAA size ballpark and a AA atmosphere. It's not bad. So
it's huge. Yeah.
Did they still have the gravel warning track there when you were there?
They did. Yes, I played a little left and right field there.
Oof.
It's a monster park. It's no fun to hit. People always look and they're like, oh, you only hit 8 home runs in half a season there, and 10, I think I had 10 the next year. I was like, you got it. If you played half your games in Richmond and you hit 10 home runs, you're having a pretty good year.
Yeah, you were in the All-Star game that year too. Is that right?
Yeah, we're in the All-Star game. Yeah.
Home run derby too.
I was in the home run derby. Hit a ball off the New Britain, I guess, in the league. I hit it off the top of I only hit 1 home run in that derby. Got one on the top of hit the furthest one in the contest.
If you're only going to hit one, that's the one you want to hit. So
I rolled over a lot of them, but got one pretty good. That's all that matters.
Yes. So 2014, I'm sure, is a special year for you as well. When did the attention kind of start picking up? Because a lot of national kind of media outlets were picking up on your time in big league spring training there with the Giants. I guess what was that like, and when did things kind of start happening for you where people really started paying attention?
Well, it started. I went that end of that year. I went to Venezuela, and I went to Venezuela right after that season, after having that great year, and I ended up hitting about 380. I was leading the league in hitting there right after Richmond, and immediately before I could get to my free agency, the Giants called me and said, "Hey, we want you in spring training. Everything I needed and wanted, we'll take care of. We want you to be a part of our team. We appreciate you. So I ended up signing back with the Giants, and it was probably the second day that we were there. I got my first at bat in the big league games. That I hit a home run, and the year before that I went, my first at bat, I hit a home run. My first at bat in big league games. So I hit that home run, and that's really when everything started. Everyone was like, "Who is this guy? Who's this guy who signed out of the stands?" And I think the day after I hit that home run, I remember waking up. It was probably about 4:30 in the morning because we get to the park about 5 a.m. to work out, and I had like 110 text messages on my phone. I was like, "What is going on?" And it was like USA Today, all these different publications. I had an interview on ESPN and all this stuff. So I was like, what is going on? I got to the field, and it was like crazy. I was on all these radio shows. I was like, they're like, you have to do this radio show. I was like, well, I got to go and hit in the cage. I got to get ready. So it was awesome, man. It was such an amazing experience, and had a really good spring. It was cool. It was something, as a kid you dream about.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking. Still remember they're talking about you on like Baseball Tonight and all that kind of stuff. Was there one thing maybe that happened to you, or that you got to do that was maybe you would say is the coolest thing that kind of came out of all of that?
Honestly, getting to sit down and get to talk with John Kruk as a Phillies fan my whole life. John Kruk was one of my favorite players. So to have John Kruk come in the clubhouse and be like, Minicozzi, what's up, man? I was like, that's awesome. That was the guy. Like, that was probably my coolest thing. It's probably the craziest thing. But yeah, John Croc coming out was like, this is one of my favorite players of all time. That's so cool.
Yeah. That spring, just kind of reading some of the stuff that was written about you then, it seemed like you had a very legitimate chance to get to the big leagues at that point. I guess, how much was that on your mind, and how crazy was that, I guess, given where things had been just a couple years ago?
Yeah, I had a really good spring. I think my numbers ended up not being too good, but I had probably about like 8 to 10 lineouts. I had 2 or 3 game-winning hits. I had a really good spring. I actually got called in the last day of camp, and Bochy told me, he's like, man, we have 14 games to start the season without a day off. We need to carry another extra pitcher. We're going to send you back down. Keep on doing what you're doing, man. We're going to need hitting this year. Thank you for everything you did, and we plan on seeing you this year. That was there's not obviously no one likes that call when you're in spring training and having a good spring, and there's talks about you break with the team and get that last day, and they say, hey, you're going down to AAA, but we want you up there. So.
Yeah, it had been such a roller coaster over those past couple years. Ultimately, you didn't get that opportunity. So how difficult was that to swallow, to have come all the way back and gotten that close, and then ultimately it unfortunately doesn't happen for you?
Yeah, it was tough. I went to AAA that year. Same sort of thing about all the interviews and stuff like that.
Sure.
First game of the year, we were facing Thor. Syndergaard was a starter for the Mets that day. I think I ended up going 2 for 4 with a home run the first day. The game 2, I was like, all right, good start. I never start like this. Maybe this is the year. Second game of the year, we're facing Jacob deGrom. He's a decent pitcher. He was their number 2 pitcher. So my first at bat hit a double off the wall. I was like, all right, here we go. Second at bat, boom, hit a ball, bat flip, home run, here we go. Hits the top of the wall at Vegas, and I was in my trot. I tried to pick up my speed and get to second, and I hook slide into second and separated my shoulder.
Oh.
So I ended up second game of the year laying on second base, getting an ambulance ride to the ER to get my shoulder put back in place. So that definitely wasn't the route I wanted to go. I'll say that.
I'm sure you've kind of reflected on it too. It just feels like injuries have always just kind of hit you at the wrong time. Is that fair to say?
I spent my entire career getting injured at the wrong time, but that's baseball. Baseball is not always skill; it's a lot of timing, and I just always picked the wrong time to get hurt. I actually got a chance that year. I remember having the MRI, and they told me. Remember having the conversation pretty vividly with the minor league trainer, and he told me, he said, you're done, man. There's no way you're going to be able to play this year. You have a complete tear. You're going to need surgery. You're done for the year. I told him, hey, man, I'm 31. Give me a shot. Give me 6 weeks to try to rehab this back. I'm going to, he's like, there's no way with your follow through. You're such a violent follow through with the one hand at the end. There's no way you're going to be able to do it. So I spent actually about 3 weeks just rehabbing, trying different ways to swing just to be able to do it. And about 3 weeks into rehab, I convinced them to let me play in some rookie ball games. Ended up doing well there. I think about 4 weeks into that, I convinced them to let me go to San Jose and play. And I went there and was able to, I think I hit like 350 with like 3 or 4 home runs in a couple games. And within 5 weeks, I was able to get them to send me back to AAA and get to play that year in AAA.
At the end of that year, was there a thought that maybe they would give you that opportunity? Because you had a good year in AAA overall. You did.
Yeah, I led the team in almost every statistic for that, other than I think Adam Duvall, who played the full season. But I think I ended up with like 10 home runs, 70 RBIs, and missing 2 months was I put up some pretty incredible numbers. It was probably the reason I left the Giants. I was told I got an offer to go to Japan in July. And I had an opt-out in my contract, and I was told that if I stayed, that when September came around, that I would get my opportunity. And unfortunately, September came, and we had a couple first rounders and second rounders that got that opportunity, and I went home. So it was definitely probably the toughest to get so low, to be so low, to get so high, to get so close, and then be told sorry, we're not bringing you up that year. Was tough.
Yeah, what's that conversation like? Because if they said that they were going to bring you up, I mean, do they call you in and then say, "Hey, like what we told you was going to happen"? Well, yeah, sorry. Like, how does that go?
It was a very short conversation. It was I remember coming in the office thinking, I had talked to my agent earlier, and I didn't ship my truck. Usually I'd ship my truck or car or whatever back to Philadelphia or wherever at the end of the year. So I kept everything in Fresno at the time, thinking I would just be driving up to San Francisco, and to get called in the office and have the first words come out of our hitting coach was like, "What do you think you can do next year to get yourself to the big leagues?" I was pretty honest. I pretty much said, I don't know what else I can do. I think I hit 370 in what was it, in the last month in August. I was like, I hit 370 this month. Like, what else can I do? There's nothing else. Like, so it was tough. Definitely a tough experience. Obviously it's baseball. It's, a lot of moving parts, a lot of, people making decisions that you don't have control of.
Yeah. End up going to the Nationals organization the following year. I guess what was kind of the market for you in free agency like, and ultimately why decide on going to the Nationals?
Yeah, after that year, I went back to Venezuela, see if I could market myself more. I did really well in Venezuela that year again. I had a couple offers to go to about 5 or 6 different other organizations. I ended up signing with the Nationals based off, they had told me that I would be the everyday third baseman in AAA in Syracuse, and that if I played well and put up the same kind of numbers, that I would get a shot. And as a guy who with the Giants sort of got labeled as a DH. I mean, I played first, I played second, third, and left. But as these prospects came and guys like Joe Panic, Adam Duvall were playing those positions, I sort of got labeled as just, a DH. So I was like, man, here's an opportunity to show I can play third base. So I took that opportunity, hoping that was my opportunity to show I could still play the hot corner.
Ultimately, that goes how it goes. They end up releasing you. You go to Mexico, play really well there. Are you thinking after playing as well as you did in Mexico that might lead to another opportunity in affiliated baseball? Are you worried about teams thinking that you're getting older at that point? I guess heading into 16, basically, what's kind of your thought process?
Yeah, going into that year, I played in Syracuse, and Syracuse is almost what we call the veteran curse. I mean, you go there, most guys don't make it out of there. It's a big ballpark. It snows in June. A Friday night, typically you get between like 18 to 22 fans.
Whoever's rolling in from the bus station next door, yes.
Yeah, they're shoveling in homeless people to watch a game. It's so bad. It's such a terrible atmosphere, and it's just a terrible place. I remember going there. Not playing well, never saw third base, played left field. It was a tough situation. I think we had, 11 guys who had like 4+ years of big league experience. And one by one, as June came, every week, 2 or 3 of us got released. And I got released, I think, end of June, and went to Mexico and tried that out and had a good year. I think I hit 100 my first 30 at bats with like 20 strikeouts, and then ended up my last 3-4 weeks there. 3 out of the 4 weeks I won Player of the Week. Ended up hitting 360 with like 9 home runs for the year. So I had a really good last little run in Mexico.
So come back to Mexico to start out 16. I guess what gets you to Long Island in 16? I guess what is kind of the process that ultimately gets you back to the Atlantic League? You had a very brief stay in Camden, so what gets you back to the Ducks?
So I went back to Mexico. I actually held out for about 6 weeks. Little contract dispute with one of the teams that I got traded to. Held out for about 6 weeks, then got traded back to my old team who had new management. I think I played there I think I had a total of like 80 at bats. I don't even think I unpacked my bags. By the time I got released, we had our manager who was there the year before get fired about 10 games into my stay there. And one thing you learn about winter ball or any kind of Latin ball, if a new manager comes in, if you're an import, pack your bags, you're going home. So, when we got our new manager within a day or two, I was released and went to Long Island.
Was there a connection there with old teammates or something your agent set up, or how does that go?
Yeah, I played with Lou Ford a bunch in winter ball. So
I think everybody's played with Lou Ford by now.
Everyone's, people 20 years ago played with Lou Ford. He's the Benjamin Button of baseball, man. He's unbelievable, man. But no, I played against him in Venezuela, played with him in Dominican, played with him in Mexico. So we played a bunch of places together. So when I got released a couple weeks into going out to Mexico, he called me up. It's like, man, come play with us. We got a bunch of hitters in our lineup. We got a great setup. And I was like, okay, it's awesome. Let's go. So I ended up going out there.
So what's the experience like there? I think you got into 20, 21 games, something like that.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I mean, they do the second best job in the league. I mean, Somerset has such a great everything. What they provide is, second to none. But Long Island gives you such a great experience. We had a really good team that year. I put up some pretty decent numbers for that time, and unfortunately had a high throw at first base and came down and broke my ankle.
Yeah. Another one of those things.
Yeah. Another time I start going. I think I was hitting like 350 or 360. Starting to get back in the groove, hit a couple home runs. It was really starting to feel like I was getting back on track where I was before, and broke my ankle. I actually played a game. I think I played one full game and a half a game with a broken ankle with the Ducks. And I remember I hit it double, and I got to second, and I was like, I'm out of the game. I took myself out. I was like, I can't. There's something wrong with me, and trade, and it was a full break. So jeez. I was done for about 3 months.
So I guess at this point, maybe it's a bit of a broad question, but kind of you're later on in your career. What's kind of keeping you going at this point? What's keeping you motivated? Are you hoping for another overseas opportunity? Are you hoping that maybe a team is going to take a chance on you? I guess when you're kind of at that last stretch of indie ball, I guess what's driving you to keep going out there every day?
Yeah, at that point, you're really playing. When you play when they used to have older guys in AAA, AA, the financials, reward you got paid, you could make up to $20,000 a month. So, to have those opportunities where you're making that, you can make really good money in Mexico, Venezuela. It was real just to play financially. I was doing pretty well that I could keep on playing at those levels. When you get back to, Long Island, you get to those indie ball jobs and those, Mexico, any kind of Asian jobs start drying up. You see that the writing on the wall that there's this, you're not going to be playing this game for financial gain. You're going to be playing for a financial loss. So that sort of starts coming into perspective. I know when I broke my ankle, I actually had called over at East Carolina to see if I could go and finish my degree, as I needed to finish an internship. And I went back that year to make sure I could get my degree while I had the downtime.
Yeah. So I guess was that kind of what held you up from coming back to Somerset right away? Because I think you signed in June. Is that right, in Somerset?
Yeah, I actually held out. I held out to go to Mexico. So I had, when you sign in the Atlantic League, there's a pretty heavy payment for Mexican teams to sign you.
Yes.
I think it was about a $5,000 fee to sign players. So I held out for about 2 months, hoping to, my agent at the time had told me just, wait it out for a while, wait till one of the jobs opens up for a hitter, an outfielder, first baseman, and you'll have a better opportunity not being, with a team. And after about 6-8 weeks of no jobs opening up, nothing going through, I wanted to go play. Somerset was knowing, okay, no jobs are coming there. This is the end of the line. I really wanted to play either in Somerset or Lancaster, which was two places really, really close to home, so my family could watch me play.
Yeah. Somerset, it seemed like you fit in really well. Veteran guy. Most times guys have good attitudes like you did. Sometimes they don't, but it seems like you fit in, you blend in right away. I guess, how did you kind of feel like your transition to jumping in there right away and contributing went?
That Somerset is a one-of-a-kind kind of place. You come there, I didn't know many of the guys on the team, and within like 3 days, I felt like I knew most of the guys for about 5 years. I mean, it's such an amazing. They do such a good job of having a team based around character and having good character people, and it was such a good. John Hutton was the one I contact most with. I played against a lot of the guys, either in AA or AAA, and it seemed like the right fit at the time. So when the opportunity came to come there, I was hoping to produce a lot better than I did. Unfortunately, I want to say it was about 10 to 14 games in, I tore my groin at one of the early stages of the plate appearance. I missed a couple weeks and never really, until maybe the end of the year, I really never got that strength in that groin to really drive the baseball. And, I tried every way I could. I loved that team and wanted to see us have a chance. We had such a good team, and, I didn't really produce like I'm sure everybody was hoping I would, but, I tried every day to get out there. I know I got a chance to play some third base, and, it was cool to be able to play in front of my family and sort of end my career on a good note that way.
Yeah, that clubhouse, there's a lot of younger guys, a lot of older guys. It seems like a lot of the younger guys were kind of gravitating towards you a little bit, and not just because you were hooking them up with batting gloves either. I guess, what is that kind of like, and what is that kind of role like where you're kind of playing that mentor role a little bit to some of maybe the more inexperienced guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you play for as long, I think that was my 12th season, you see some guys who haven't got those opportunities like I got my second time. And you try to just keep guys positive. You see these guys working really hard, wanting that second chance, and being an older guy, there's so many different ways older players come into independent ball. Being a second time through, I think I had a different outlook than the first time you go through it. It's very tough to see, that your career is very much likely done. So to give that positivity to those younger guys, tell them, hey man, I got a second chance, or, if you keep on working, you get a chance out of here, you can do some big things. So to be that kind of guy, I mean, I always like trying to not say coach guys, but, give that positivity and say, hey man, you're out in the game. How many people would want to be doing this? And that was really the approach I tried to take. I mean, if I couldn't help on the field, if I could help someone else, that was something I wanted to do.
Yeah. So you were a big part of that team. So to not get to be a part of things in the playoffs, and obviously the circumstances that led to that, I guess how frustrating and difficult was that for you to accept?
Yeah, it was tough. My last couple weeks in Somerset probably didn't end how I would want to. I was trying at the end. I don't know if this was known, but I had asked to be traded to Lancaster to play my last week in Lancaster. They were playing home for about 6 games of the season, which would have gave all my family a chance to see me. And we were making transitions in Somerset for the playoffs, and we had brought in some other guys who were going to take a lot of the playing time.
Yep.
I had asked if I could get a chance. This is the end of my road. I'm not playing anymore. I had asked if I could go and play and, sort of have my little farewell with my family. I guess unfortunately I hit a couple home runs that series against Lancaster, and somehow things changed after the game. So I sort of got stuck sitting around and, you know, being a cheerleader the last 6-7 games of the season, and you know, it wasn't exactly how I wanted to go out, but you know, I tried to be as positive with it as I could.
When did you know that was going to be your last year?
You know, when I didn't get a job in Mexico, knowing that independent ball was the route I was going to have to take, and then about tearing my groin 2 weeks in, after the numerous years of injury after injury, I saw the writing. I was like, man, I spent about 2 hours in the training. Poor Phil, man. Phil he needed a bonus when I was there. I spent about an hour before games with compression sleeves on my legs. I'd get wrapped every 4 innings for my groin so I could, you know, keep it tight while I played. That went into going out and playing, and the performance wasn't what I used to. You know, in my mind, what I thought I could do, I couldn't translate it on the field. So, you know, I start seeing that, and you know, as a 33, 34-year-old male, you have to understand that day that comes when you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Was Primal always the path going forward? Was there something else that maybe you were looking at? Because I mean, Primal was still the infancy stages and not the massive success it is now. Was that always the plan going forward for life after playing?
Yeah, you know, it was sort of like when I was getting ready for that season, it was sort of something I really was passionate about, and something that I wanted to do. I thought from the beginning, and maybe that's just how I am, I always think on the positive side. I was actually disappointed the first year or two of our business, because I wanted to be $1 million company within 18 months. You watch Shark Tank and all this stuff. I'm like, I can do that, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I really thought that was something I was extremely passionate about, and, you know, wanted to, you know, further the game. I didn't know if coaching was something. After going back to college coaching, I coached at East Carolina for a fall. That wasn't something that really interested me at first. I think it's more glorified cheerleading to pretty much as a, you know, there. So I knew that wasn't something I wanted to do. Playing 12 years and all over the place, I knew I wanted to have a life other than traveling 9 to 10 months a year. So, you know, that was something I really was passionate about, and said, hey, let's roll with this. I want to make this, you know, a competing, you know, brand.
So what does the future hold for Primal? I know you've kind of made some masks now. You're transitioning into some other things as well. I guess, what does the future hold, and how big can this thing get?
Yeah, we've grown considerably over the last couple of years. We had a really, really good 2019. We're transitioning. We do a lot of customized gloves. So we work with a lot of youth programs, a lot of travel programs, and we're actually in the process right now. We'll be launching our fully customized fielding gloves, where you can completely customize all the colors, names on your fielding gloves. And we will also be offering, hopefully within the next 4 to 5 months, the option that our teams can customize their batting gloves, but also for their parents and players to customize apparel. So we're going to have the opportunity to make custom gloves, and also if mom wants a shirt that says, you know, Johnny's mom, or that, we're going to be able to make that with their logo on it and stuff like that. So we're getting more into the apparel part of it, and expanding our, I guess, horizons, you would say, of what Primal can be.
So where can people find you online? Where can people find you on social media?
Primalgloves.com is our website, and Primal Gloves on Instagram. And if you put in Primal Gloves, you'll probably see us pop right up.
Awesome, man. Well, it was fun catching up with you. It's been fun seeing where Primal has gone since the days where I was covering you. We were just kind of talking about getting it off the ground, and now it's this big, massive, hugely successful business that everybody should be jumping on and taking a part of, and getting their gloves and shirts and everything from, man. So I appreciate you taking the time for me. It was really freaking fun to talk about your career, since we haven't really got a chance to dig into that too much in the past, and I wish you nothing but the best in the future, man.
Mike, thank you so much, man. Love the podcast, man. The guys you have on there are the best, man. I love watching it and love hearing it, and you know, I can't wait to see baseball again so I can follow you guys and keep up with it. And thank you again, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, appreciate you, man. Stay safe, all right?
You have a great day.
All right, guys, thank you so much for checking out episode 19. I still hope it's 19. I'm not sure. Episode 19 of the Untitled Mike Ashmore podcast. That was an absolute blast to catch up with Cozzi like we did there. I hope you guys got to learn a bit more about him as well. Became a real fan favorite real quick during his time in Somerset, and after listening to that, it's pretty obvious as to why that was. So we've taped a bunch of episodes after this one. I know it's been a few days since you guys have seen a new one, but we've just been in the process of moving into the house. There's nothing really on the walls or anything here yet, just trying to get ourselves moved in. So I've been doing as much work as I can. I've been taping a lot of these, haven't been able to edit a lot of these, but there's a lot of these. They're going to be coming out fast and furious at you guys over the next week or two from what I've been building up and getting ready to go for everybody. And there's some can't miss chats. I promise. I feel like I've delivered on most of these so far, and that's going to continue for sure. So, and again, these aren't going anywhere. Just because I'm not active working in sports right now, that doesn't mean a damn thing. These are going to keep coming, and they're going to keep being real good. So until then, stay safe, stay inside, wash your damn hands, hear large trucks go past your new house, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.